Hello, scrappers, recyclers, and investors. Welcome to Shark Scrapper Live, where every week we take a look at precious metals, industrial metals, the stocks of companies that are somehow related to our fascinating world of scrapping and recycling. And we throw in a safety note and a business note just to round everything out. For the next hour, we're talking recycling and scrapping. Come on, let's dive in. Well, it's great to be here. We've had a really fun week this week. We've got some really interesting stuff to share, but first I want to talk about why the week was so interesting. My father-in-law turned 95 on Wednesday, so Mrs. Shark and I drove out to see her dad. Great seeing him. He's just a wonderful guy. Always great to see him. And, and it's good to see the other part of the family as well that are out that way. But it was a lot of fun out there. So we had a real good time with that. We've also been really busy this week preparing for the house move, the business move, the house sale, just all the stuff that goes along with what's going to happen here in the next few months. Just a really crazy week. Let's see. Who do we have? Andrew Powell from New Zealand is back in the sack. Apparently a noisy cat woke him up. It's a shame they don't allow you to do something about those noisy stray cats because, boy, howdy, they can be loud. Man, they can. Truck Fan 42, welcome to the show. E-Waste Mike, welcome. Bush Dog, welcome. Great to have you all here. See you scrapping. As always, great to have you here. And Scrapping Irish, where we're going to be headed at the end of this show, celebrating St. Patrick's Day. All righty. So let us get on to our primary discussion here, our precious metal for this week. You saw it in the advertisement, the thumbnail for the show. So we're going to click that, and we're going to click that, and we're going to click that. We got a lot of buttons here to click in order to do this. But here we are with our gold discussion for today. Now, here's a 24-hour chart, and it shows that gold is down. Down? What? We don't like that. Here, let's look at the 3-day. Looking at the 3-day, gold is also down. We don't like what this is telling us. So we had a bit of a climb for gold, and now it's going in the wrong direction. Don't like that at all. Let's see. What do we look like for the week? Overall down. Yeah, overall down, right? We start here and we're overall down. We had a little bit of volatility going on here. So yeah, it was kind of a down week. Down week. And for the month, well, we're overall up for the month, so that's good. For the 3-month, we're also up. You can see here that in the 3-month, we kind of had a choppy plateau, and then we climbed out and got a little bit of a drop going off here. For year to date, that would year to date should match the 3-month. Why? Because we're in March. We're in the 3rd month. So that shouldn't surprise anybody. But the 1 year, if we go back whole 365 days, we can see we had this nice climb early or about a year ago. We had a little bit of a climb. We had this slow drop, but a nice valley that we climbed back out of. Then with the volatility, we've still been heading in the up direction. Then we had a nice climb here recently. So overall, gold is still going in the right direction for us for the year. But let's go back here now. Let's look at this 1 week and ask ourselves, let's talk this through a little bit. Will we expect to see any changes for gold-related scrap prices? So we're primarily talking gold-bearing material. By the way, Irish, I decided to go with gold because, well, it's St. Patrick's Day, and I know you Irish love your gold. So anyway, what would we expect to see go on here? Real quick, welcome Tuscawi. Tuscawi, did I say that right? I hope I did. And Rafael Scrapper, welcome to the show. Great to have you all here. Earl Fowler, welcome to the show. All right, so let's talk about what could be going on here. Do we expect to see any declines in board prices? Let's see. Right now, Board Sort is paying $24 a pound for RAM. And, when they see a price go down like this, I suppose they might consider dropping it a little bit, because 24 is, man, that's the highest that I've seen it. So the question would be would Board Sort go down for RAM? They haven't yet, so they're still at 24. I think probably we can expect the prices will probably hold. This is maybe a little bit of a correction here. So I suspect that a lot of the buyers are just going to sort of hold for a little bit before they see what progresses before they make any decisions. Obviously, the decision for them to make is to go lower just to protect their long-term interests. But they also know that if they go lower too early, they can lose some clients, right? So I expect that we'll see prices hold, maybe go down a little bit. What do you all think? What have you seen? Did you see any changes this week for any of your yards? Anything going on with your gold or gold-related scrap at your yards? I didn't sell anything this whole week. Just a really busy week of other things that did not include going to the scrap yard. So I can't speak for changes that may have happened this week because I just didn't see anything going on. Boardsort.com holding steady at 24 a pound for RAM, also known as Irish sucker sticks. So we're good there. And I don't see any comments coming in on anything happening at their yards for gold. So I guess we're good for gold for now. We're going to be holding. Boy, that's pretty expensive gold for buying. I mean, if you're thinking about buying some physical gold, these are pretty expensive prices. I wouldn't be buying right here. This is pretty expensive. If you look at the 5-year for gold, you can see that we are at the top for gold for the 5-year period. If we take the peaks throughout this 5-year period, connected to that one, we can see that we are at 5-year record highs and have been at 5-year record highs for gold. So I'd be really nervous buying gold right now. Let's see if we look at all the way back to the mid-90s. The highest we got to was 1,754. So we're record high for gold. And it's always risky to buy when you're at record highs for a commodity. So I don't know. I'm not going to be buying any gold right now. If I was in the market to buy, I'd be holding off for gold right now because that's a very high price. Although I've got some gold I might want to sell. Oh, I got to go take a look at that. I think I might get rid of a couple ounces. All righty. Well, a good discussion on gold, and I got to go take a look and see if I think I have a couple of ounces of gold that I bought for the purpose of selling it at some point. So Yeah, I think I might take a look at selling 1 or 2 ounces of gold, take advantage of these high prices. Our safety note for today is a very interesting one. It's not what you might consider your classic kind of safety note or safety thought. Jose, welcome. Great to have you here. What I'm talking about is, and I'm going to put these two together: anger and overreaction. Now, the reason why I'm putting the two together is because one can sort of lead to the other. Some might say that their overreaction is not necessarily the result of anger. I mean, people can overreact for a lot of things, sometimes even humor. But I think where it becomes dangerous and a safety challenge is when you overreact out of anger. And there's a lot of different ways that people can become angry. You can become angry at an inanimate object. You hit your thumb with you hit your thumb with a hammer. And I think pretty much all of us have either hit a thumb, a hand, a digit of some sort with a hammer. It hurts like the devil. And then you get mad. And what do? Well, I've seen people that have tossed that hammer across the shop. And the danger with that, of course, is you can hurt somebody. If there's somebody in the shop, you can break something, you can put it through the drywall. Just a lot of things that can go wrong when you toss your tool like that. You can get mad at animate objects that are not human. So you can get mad at an animal that bites you or scratches you. You can also get mad at other humans. And it's a perfectly natural human reaction to have. The important thing is what you do with that reaction. If you get mad at another person and you start yelling at them and you start screaming and you can end up getting in a fight, then you both get hurt, or you both get hurt and arrested, or just nothing gets resolved, right? And you risk the danger of either being hurt and or arrested, which neither one of those things works out well in the long run, does it? So what I always try to tell myself, and I can't say I'm always successful at this. I'm a human too. Sometimes I just get mad, right? And so you just got to take a step back and say, okay, what am I going to accomplish by getting angry? You work up your blood pressure. You very likely are going to do something stupid. It's hard. I know it's hard to take a step back and say, man, I really just want to hit something. I just want to yell. And if all you want to do is let off steam, then by all means, go someplace, let off some steam. Don't let off steam to another human being, because that's where you can get in trouble. If you need to physically do something to let off steam, then try to do it in such a way that you limit the potential to hurting yourself. Take that hammer and go beat the hell out of a 55-gallon drum, an empty 55-gallon drum. And, work out your frustration like that. Take a hatchet and start hacking away at a log, because that way you can get the physical release of energy that is sometimes necessary in order to help you with the mental release as well. And you're not hurting anybody. And hey, if you're cutting up and splitting firewood at the same time, then you're good to go, right? So Earl Fowler says, install a punching bag in your shop. That's not a bad idea at all, right? Not a bad idea. Because that can, that's a good way to release that energy and such. Bush Dog is saying that's where all the cuts and scratches come from. Yeah, absolutely. And Truck Fan saying sometimes you need to release some pressure from the hydraulics. Yep. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. No, Daniel, the other person cannot be in the drum. That sort of defeats the whole purpose. Yeah, no, do not put the other person in the drum. The other thing that happens when we get angry is just literally our brains don't function the way they're supposed to. We frequently hear people talk about the fight or flight thing that goes on in human beings. It's a genetic response that we have, and we really need to think that about that as we see a situation or we get in circumstances that are starting to aggravate us, that are starting to get us mad, because that fight or flight can have negative consequences. And there's nothing wrong with flight in the right, for the right reasons. You can, because it doesn't necessarily have to be flight as in, you're a coward and you're running away. An example, and this happens a lot. I'm driving down the road and people start doing stupid, hey, you nose bros, how's it going, man? And people start, just like the first person who cuts me off and I got to hit the brakes too hard, or the person that cuts in front of me, after about the third or fourth stupid thing that happens, I can feel myself getting angry. I can feel my blood pressure starting to rise. And at that point is when I have to say to myself, okay, just chill out. Just, you know what? In fact, let's just slow down a little bit. Okay, let's just back off a little bit. Let those idiots do what they're going to do. Yelling at them doesn't accomplish anything. They can't hear me. Beeping the horn doesn't do anything. They have no idea why I'm beeping the horn at them. Tailgating them is only going to lead to a potential accident where someone's going to get hurt. And, then what good is that going to do? So, you just got to physically, mentally take just say, all right, I need to settle down. I need to just take a step back. Those people are going to be stupid no matter what you do. You have the ability to decide what you are going to do. And at the end of the day, that's the only person that you can control in life is yourself. So think about anger and how you react to it, and just try to be conscious of it. And as you start to feel yourself getting angry, getting mad, try to consciously say to yourself, what good is this going to do? What good is it going to do for me to get in a fight, for me to tailgate this person, for me to go down the road rage thing with them? Just back it off, take a deep breath, slow it down, and let them be themselves and go on, and you just put yourself in another place. Now, trust me, I know that's easier said than done. I know it so well. I know how hard that is. And sometimes it just doesn't feel right. In the long run, it does feel right. In the long run, I have always, when I've been able to back myself off and say, I can't control them. I can control me. I'm just going to take a couple of deep breaths here, back off, slow down, whatever. In the long run, it's always been the right answer. Just don't get angry and just try to settle the situation, because that's the only way that's the best way to handle it. If somebody's up in your face about something, it gets a bit more difficult. But if you have another human and they're right up in your face and they're yelling at you or they're confronting you, that's when it's even more important that you stay calm, because that's the best way for you to win one of those, any way that situation plays out. The best way for you to come out ahead is to stay calm. When you are calm, you can react faster. If they do something really stupid, you also, when you stay calm, you don't escalate the situation and make a bad situation even worse. So, I know I know that sometimes you just really want to lay into somebody, but that's not going to get you where you need to get to in the long run. So anger management, dealing with anger, those are really tough skills. And I don't think that, enough people look at it from a safety perspective. And in the long run, it really is a safety perspective. So hopefully that'll just plant a little seed in the back of your head. And as you go forward here now, you'll be thinking in those situations where you're starting to get angry, you'll say to yourself, let's back off. There's no reason for me to put up with this. All righty. Well, I don't know. Anybody else have any really weird things that went on in their week that just really got under your skin, that just made you want to either, bash something or, get mad at a person? And what did you do? How did you handle it? Did you back off, or, were you stupid and just went down that road anyway? Bros has got a really good point here. These days, got to really be careful because there's so many people out there that are willing to just, start throwing punches. So yeah, you just stay in your car and let it back off. Road rage is really dangerous, and I've been in some situations where people did some really dangerous stuff. They got mad at me for whatever reason, I don't know, and then they started, brake checking me, and those kind of things got really dangerous. It was really important at that point that I not let it escalate, and that I try to do something to try to back it off the best I could. So really important. Truck fan says, I poked my finger on a side can tab. Annoying. Ended up punishing the can by throwing it in the return. That's an awesome way to deal with it, man. You showed that can who's boss. Did you step on it first? I mean, did you smash it with your boot and then throw it in the recycle bin? That's one of the ways that I love to take out my frustration on cans. Man, I just smash them with my boot. Carl Godfrey, welcome. Great to have you here. All righty. Well, let's get on to our industrial metal for the week. We are going over to trading economics. Let's take a quick look at what the summary says about copper here. Copper futures surged towards $4 a pound, reaching the highest in 11 months after Chinese copper smelters agreed to reduce their production unprofitable facilities due to raw material shortages. It goes on to talk about that's sort of a voluntary thing. There's no hard quotas, but there was definitely some good news there. So let's take a look at our charts. Now I'm going to bring up the candlesticks because I love looking at the candlesticks. To me, they're very revealing. We can see that, here we are. Let's just take a look at the week. And wow, look at that. That is nice. That is real nice when you see copper climb up like that. Now, granted, we only went from what, 380 something, and we were up around 412, and we're now down here in the 410-ish or something like that. But as I love to do when I look at these charts and I put the filled candlesticks in, to me, this chart looks greener than red, and that's a really good sign. That's really good. And what I like about the way this grew was you could see these were steady gains. It's not like we had some unexplained surge. We had some nice steady gains as the week went along. Let's zoom in here, get closer in. So even near the end of the week, we can see that, we had some adjustments going on. This volatility here is adjustments as the markets digested and then said, yeah, you know what, we do need to keep going up. And then there's some more adjustments and we're up again a little bit. Now, right here, I'm not worried about this flatness because there isn't a whole lot of trading that goes on. On the other side of the date line, things are going to start cranking up, and we'll see what happens. But it's always nice to see copper going in that direction. So that was for the week. Let's see, what does copper look like for the month? Yep, it's up for the month, so that's good. For the 6-month period, love seeing this. Look at that, nice. We've, overall climb out here, but really in this later part of that 6-month period, we see this climb going on. So that's really good news for copper. We've talked about copper a lot here. We've got some folks that have said that they're looking at copper to get to $5 a pound. So when you see these kind of moves, you really start to think to yourself, yeah, maybe we could get there. It's possible. Let's see, what does our 1 year look like? So we're about where we were a year ago, which, hey, not bad, right? If you held your copper, then you haven't lost anything, right? Now, a lot of people have to sell their copper during the year for cash flow. So yeah, you didn't make as much as you would have if you were able to hold it. But that's just the nature of the beast. But copper's getting into that area where it's you're where we are where we were about a year ago. So what were your thoughts a year ago? You might want to be thinking in the same way, right? 5-year look at copper, down from our highs back in 21, 22, but from here we are July of 22 through now, we're up. So copper's starting a slow recovery here, and I'm in a weird situation right now because of relocation. Because I'm relocating the shark cage, I have to reduce inventory, but I'm not reducing my inventory of my higher grade copper, my number ones. I'm hanging on to my strategic reserve. I'm going to take it with me up to North Carolina. I'm just going to bite the bullet and take it with me. It's weight, but it doesn't take up a lot of space. So there's no reason not to take it up with me. I'm hanging on to my strategic copper reserve, anticipating looking at prices to get back up in this $5 range like we were back here. Is it going to happen this year? Probably not. I would be really surprised if we got to $5 this year. Will we get there in the not too distant future? Yeah, I believe so, which is why I'm hanging on to it. So yeah, we're going to keep we're going to hang on to it and take it with us up there. The other reason why I want to take my good copper with me is because when I get relocated, I am seriously considering getting into some melting and pouring. So the copper is one of those things that can make for some good things to pour. Rounds, decorative things. Bars are always cool, if for no other reason than you can put more copper in smaller space if they're poured into bars. So I'm taking copper and aluminum and brass with me for future melt projects as well. So let's see. HH Recycling is asking if prices are similar up there. HH, I haven't really done a hard dive on that because I knew that whatever the prices were when I was there in August and in February, they'd be different than when I get up there now. So, or when I get up there in a few months. So the one thing that I know for certain is it's not as good for many of the scrap value because it has to be shipped. There's no melters up there. There's no refineries up there in that area. So everything is getting trucked out somewhere else. So that means that some of the prices, pretty much all the prices, are probably going to be a little bit less than what I can get where I'm located right now. Because right here in Jacksonville, we have some plants that are, that are using the shred steel to make things. They're refining it here. It's also, this is a major transportation hub, so it's easier to get things around here. So I get really good prices here in Jacksonville. My suspicion is I won't see those great prices when I get up into the mountains of Western North Carolina, but I won't know for sure what it's going to be until I get up there. Righty then. Yeah, copper's looking pretty good. I'm really happy to see what's going on with copper. I'm selling off, as much of my inventory as I can, that especially of the lower grade stuff, so I don't have to move it. And we're going to talk about, in fact, you know what? Let's just get right into it right now. The move. Here's where we stand for the move. I reserved a pod to be delivered to the shark cage on the 15th of April. And we will start packing that up. The landlord is already starting to advertise the space. So there's the possibility that if I'm cleaned out of that space early, that he'd get a renter in there, and I may not have to pay that last month's lease payment. So that would be nice. Plus, when you're trying to move the business, you're trying to sell a house, you're trying to buy a house, and you're trying to find a new location for a business, there's just so many unknowns going on out there that I'm trying to find the things that I can control. And one of the things that I can control is when I break down the shark cage. So I scheduled that for the 15th of April. We'll get that pod delivered. Might make for some interesting video when I'm loading that thing up. Lord knows moving the deck scale is going to be a very interesting thing indeed. So I'm messing around with how I'm going to move the deck scale. I am going to order the lifting eyes. So the deck scale has bolt holes in it where you can screw in lifting eyes. And the deck scale weighs 325 pounds. So that is inside the limit of the Genie lift. Now the Genie lift forks don't go out very far, so I have to figure out a way to manage that. But, and that's why I'm going to get the lifting pad eyes. My plan is to put some line between the two lifting pad eyes. That way I can lift the deck scale, maneuver it into the pod, and it can set sideways. So as I'm lowering it, I can block one end and then tip, and it should be able to then rest on its side in the pod. And that way I'll have the weight distributed. So I think we should be good to go there. I'm probably also going to hire a couple of folks just to have, some extra labor with me. I don't know. I enjoy doing things myself, but this one might be good to have a couple of extra hands around to help me with it, just in case things don't go as planned. Oh man. So that's that part is in plan, and we put our house here on the market the 1st of April. So we do have some hard deadlines in place, and we have been really starting to work on specific things to get the house ready for sale and to get stuff packed up. So we are making progress. All right, our business note, though, is not about me moving. Our business note is, and this is just, I know it's boring, it's taxes, but for those of you that are doing this as a small business, don't forget you are a month away from filing your federal income taxes, assuming that your fiscal year ended at the end of December. Most small businesses use the calendar year as their fiscal year, And U.S. tax law requires that small businesses submit their taxes no later than the 15th day of the 4th month after your fiscal year ends. So for most of us, that's the 15th of April. That, sometimes some larger companies use different months for their fiscal years for any number of reasons. For the average small business owner, that's a complication that you don't need to mess with. That's why most of us just go with the calendar year, and why most of us need to have our taxes done by the 15th of April. Also, don't forget, if you're doing quarterly payments, whether for state purposes or for your federal income tax, March is going to be one of those end of quarter things. So when you get the end of March, then you're going to have, depending upon your state and local laws and stuff, you'll have a certain period of time after that in which you have to get your quarterly income taxes and your quarterly sales tax and all your quarterly reporting done as well. So April can be a really busy tax month. So hopefully you have already done, you've already got your taxes done for the 2023 tax year, and you've got them submitted. But if you don't, you're starting to get to the wire. So don't be dilly-dallying with that. Get it done. I am very proud to say that my taxes, my federal income taxes, are done for the business for the year. So we've already submitted that and gotten that taken care of. And because I'm an LLC, the profit and loss all rolls down to me on my personal income taxes anyway. And we're doing well getting that taken care of as well. So your taxes, get them taken care of. The last thing you want is the IRS chasing you down. Now, of course, this is U.S. only. For those of you that are small businesses outside of the United States, I have no idea what your tax laws are like. You need to work on that yourself. But don't ignore it, because I think the one thing that most countries have in common is you don't mess with your tax people. They can be rough. All righty, so that's our business note and our move update. Let's see what's been going on here in the chat. Yeah, HH. Yeah, I mean, I've looked at it from the sense to know it's going to be different. I'm going up there, so there's nothing I can do about it. If it's a lot less, then I just have to adjust my business plan accordingly. So it's not going to stop me from going up there. What I do know is that based on the conversations I've had with folks up there, I will be the only person up there who's doing electronic scrap. Seriously, as a business, no kidding, doing electronic scrap. So in that sense, I will have a bit of an advantage in the area. And I've been able to line up some business deals ahead of time before I've even gotten up there because of that. Truck fan, famous for coming up with questions that are completely out of context. Have I ever had anything explode in the shark cage? No. Yes, a paint can. I had a paint can explode once. And I can't really, and it was just, I wasn't paying attention. In fact, I did a safety note on it because of it. Because I get a bunch of empty paint and cans, lubricating sprays and things like that from the motorcycle shop. And what I do is I kind of put them in a bin, and then at some point I'll put on my safety gear and something to, a face mask or something like that. And then I just grab them and I take the pointy end of my rock hammer and I punch a hole in them and throw them in the other bin. Punch a hole in them, throw them in the other bin. Because my scrapyard wants to see a hole in aerosol cans. And so I was just getting in a rhythm, and I grabbed this one can. I should have noticed that it was heavier than all the other ones. I didn't realize it was still partially full. So when I hit it, I can't say it exploded, but boy, spray paint went everywhere. And my face was covered in this silver metallic paint. And it was, a high heat kind of paint. So I had to go wash my face because it was burning my face. Now, fortunately, I had eye protection on, so I didn't get any of it in my eyes. But yeah, that's about as close as I've ever come to having anything explode in the shop. So I don't know if that really counts or not. JR Cat, welcome. I'm glad you were able to make it, sir. Okay, we're not going to tell her you said that. We're not going to tell her that's what you call her. Nope. All right, that's right. Recycling, welcome. Great to have you here. And Truck Fan made 270 kroner on returnables last Friday. Very cool. That's very cool. All right, well, let us get ready to move on now to our stock discussions. Now, remember, the basis for my stocks discussions is the Value Line Investment Survey. This group does not take any advertising. It's all subscription based. So all of the information that's contained in here is just pure numbers and analysis of the numbers and the various reports the companies put out. So I really appreciate the fact that this is unbiased information. It's actually pretty hard to find unbiased information anymore these days. Every week I get one of the editions. This is issue 5 that came in. Actually, was last week's issue, and we had Electric Utilities Central, Telecom Services, Telecom Equipment. Ooh, those are fun places. Auto parts industry, toiletries, cable TV industry, and engineering and construction. And I thought we would go with the telecom because, well, we love telecom, right? We love to take telecom boards apart. One of our favorite things are high telecom. We always talk about high telecom, right? Let us dive right in here. The first company that we are going to talk about is AT&T. Their ticker symbol is T. And their current yield is 6.7% on $16.60 a share. So right away, what you can see is a very reasonable price of entry that's well within a lot of people's budget. And that's a really sweet yield. Now, you also know that I have some pretty rigorous standards for what I expect from companies. 17 years of increasing cash flow per share, earnings per share, or dividends per share, with one flat year allowed. And so when you look at AT&T, you can see that they are not qualified. And so you're saying to yourself, okay, Sharky, then why are you even showing this to us? Well, because they used to be qualified back when I bought them. Remember, I've been following this for many, many years now. And up until 2020, AT&T was qualified by my standards, and I bought AT&T. And then they, started messing up here. So I made a conscious decision not to sell them right away because they were still in my mind a good company. They were still in my mind a good investment. So I hung on to them, and they've had their challenges, and I would have some concerns right now with them, but because I did buy into them, and that's why this is green up here, by the way, because I own shares in them, and I just hang on to it. When I buy a stock, I set it so that the dividends automatically reinvest. So I keep on adding shares every time they give me dividends. So anyway, that's why I'm in AT&T, because they used to be qualified. And they aren't now. Let's see, what do the analysts have to say about AT&T? Oh, let's see. By the way, they are one of the world's largest telecom carriers. I know that a lot of times people think of AT&T as a U.S. company, but they're all over the world. and it is the largest in the U.S. They have wireline subsidiaries providing services in 13 states, including California, Texas, Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, Missouri, Connecticut, Indiana, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, Kansas, Arkansas, Nevada. Oh, I don't see North Carolina on there. Well, that's all right. I don't use AT&T anyway. So AT&T's 2023 fourth quarter operating results were a mixed bag. Okay, so some good, some bad. They've lowered their 2024 earnings estimate because of accelerated depreciation and some other cost challenges that they're going to have. However, this is interesting. The analysts say they like the stock where it's at right now. They think it's suitable for risk-tolerant accounts with a long-term investment horizon. They're saying that it's a show-me kind of thing right now. But when they say things like they like the stock here, they're saying at this price point, long-term risk-tolerant. What they're saying with this is that if you can stomach the volatility that's bound to go on here, this is probably a good place to get into this stock. Now, remember, these analysts, they don't use my 17-year standard by any stretch. So they look at the company from a much broader perspective, and that's part of what I use as well when I'm considering stocks that I'm going to get into. So if you want to add some telecom stuff to your portfolio, even though they're not qualified, you might want to take a look at AT&T. There's some good possibilities there for you. And it's not terribly expensive. All right, the other telecom company that is of interest is Verizon. Their ticker symbol, VZ. They're also giving a really nice yield, 6.7%. And that's on $39.69 a share. Now, this is a bit more expensive. Well, you're going to make more money too, right? 6% of a $40 investment is better than 6% of a $14 investment. So, it's in that sense, it's good. So if you can stomach the $40 per share, then it's definitely something to look at. Now, Verizon is qualified. They're a Div 1, and they're Div 1 because from 16 to 17, they kept their dividend flat. So there you can see that. So they are qualified as a Div 1. And if I was in the acquisition mode right now, Verizon would definitely be one of those companies that I would look at for a number of reasons. They're qualified and in particular, they're qualified for their dividend. They're a reasonable price point, and they have a very good yield. So I would definitely be considering those guys. Also, if you look at Verizon, there's some volatility going on here, but not nearly as much volatility as we have seen with other companies in their cash flow and their earnings. And this dividend is just a nice, smooth upward slope to it. So a nice stock here to consider. Let's see, what do the analysts have to say about Verizon? Excuse me, I need to take a swig of coffee here. Verizon was created by the merger of Bell Atlantic and GTE back in June of 2000. It's a diversified telecom company with a network that covers a population of about 298 million people, and it provides services. So it covers a population of 298 million, and it provides services to nearly 98 million. They acquired MCI back in 2006, Alltel, Verizon Wireless, also the largest provider of print and online directory information. Oh, isn't that interesting? All right. They have wireline presence in 28 states and Washington, D.C. I sure hope they have coverage up in North Carolina because my phone is Verizon. I'm gonna have to look at that. Anyway, so the analysts are saying that Verizon's bottom line is likely going to come under pressure. We've got capital expenditures are likely to fall, but they've got other pressures that they're dealing with here. Mostly the company is focused on paring down its debt. So listen to these numbers. These numbers astound me sometimes. Verizon ended 2023 with $2.065 billion in cash on its balance sheet versus $2.6505 billion a year ago. The long-term debt of $13.77 billion, which is down almost $3 billion from a year ago. So, I mean, anytime they start talking billions, I'm just like, oh my God, man. I mean, I still think in thousands, and these people are thinking in billions. So here's what I think is interesting about these analysts. They say that for investors who are seeking short-term play, there are more alluring alternatives elsewhere. However, more patient accounts may find this an opportune time to take a position. At the recent quotation, Verizon stock's capital appreciation potential in the 3 to 5 years is well above that of average. So you're more likely to make money when you sell it then. And they talk about for income and seeking investors, the dividend that we've already talked about is very enticing. So the advisors here are also thinking that Verizon is a pretty good long-term play. Not for you short-term investors, but if you're thinking in for longer-term investments, income-generating things, Verizon's got some really good potential for you. Definitely worth taking a look at. All right, now the last company that I want to take a look at, and you can't pass up Cisco, right? We come across Cisco stuff all the time when we're scrapping, and we love to scrap Cisco equipment because it tends to be really high grade stuff, good value stuff. You're getting good telecom boards out of it. So we just love scrapping Cisco stuff. So I had to take a look at Cisco anytime they come up. So their yield is 3.3, which is not fantastic. I mean, I would prefer greater than 4%. That's something to think about. It's also kind of expensive at $48.40. It's not terrible. It's just the yield at that. There may be better places for you to put your money. However, there's a lot of different reasons why people buy stocks. Let's see, they are not qualified. Yeah, they're not qualified at all because, and if we focus on the dividends that I like to focus on, we can see that early on they weren't even paying a dividend. So, that's a big reason why they are not qualified, because they just didn't pay a dividend, right? Starting in 11, they started paying out their dividend. And if it helps you at all to decide, from the time they started paying their dividends through now, they have always gone up. So it's not quite 17 years of increasing dividends per share, but from the point where they started paying, they've been doing what we want them to do. So Cisco might be one for you to consider. However, let's take a look at what the analysts have to say about it. They did report better than expected results for January. Total product revenue of $9.2 billion, which fell 9% year over year. Okay. Service revenue of $3.6 billion grew 4%. Oh, all right. And networking, which is their largest category, saw a sales drop of 12%, owing to declines across switching, wireless, and routed optical networking. primarily in the weakness in the enterprise service provider and cloud markets. Actually, I've been hearing a lot of talk about, right now things are a bit soft. A lot of companies invested during the pandemic, upgrading, buying and upgrading systems. And then, of course, there was the supply chain slowing stuff down. A lot of that has been getting online now. And so, there's a little bit of softness in that world right now. So the bottom line is that the analysts at Value Line are saying investors should hold off here for the time being. They remain wary about the impact of a weak macro environment, and recovery in the service provider cloud demand may take a while, considering management noted some instances of 20 plus weeks of inventory that was built up when the lead times were long. So they've got plenty of inventory to handle demand that's going to come up. That means things are kind of weak a little bit. And so the investors at Value Line are saying, you might want to hold off a little bit. That would also suggest that they would anticipate that the prices may go down a little bit, which gives you a better entry point at some point in the future. So of our stocks that we looked at, which one did you like? Are any of you going to give some consideration to buying into any of those? Of the three that we just talked about, I really think that AT&T is going to be your safest to get into, because it's the least expensive and still gives you a really good dividend. But of the two, between AT&T and Verizon, I think Verizon is a stronger play right now. But it's a little more expensive to get into. So just something to think about there. Either one of them would be a perfectly reasonable investment, I would say. Really interesting week, interesting stocks to take a look at. I'm actually selling part of my portfolio. As I have been saying now, I'm building up my cash position so that I have the money that I need for down payment on the next house, to cover the costs of moving and all the other stuff that goes along with this. So I've actually been taking a hard look at my portfolio, and I'm selling off things that aren't giving me as much yield. We'll see how much of the portfolio I need to sell, but this is a very good time for me to make a decision to sell. Probably one of the hardest things that I struggle with all the time is selling something. I'm a buy and hold investor, so I put a lot of energy and thought into what I'm going to buy. Makes it even harder when it's time to sell. I have to be really motivated to sell any stock at all. But right now I've got that motivation because I need some cash. So, we're going to go ahead and sell and put some cash aside for the move. I'm really excited and a bit nervous about the next few months. I got to be honest. But I'm going to keep sharing it with you all, because that helps me think through what's going on. And hopefully y'all don't get tired of listening to me talk about my anxiety associated with this move. Hey, don't forget, if you have autoplay enabled, when I end this stream in just a few minutes, you will be teleported across the Atlantic Ocean to Ireland. And we will be joining Scrapping Irish on St. Patrick's Day. It'll be interesting to see if he's already been drinking, because the Irish don't drink much, do they? I know that we're going to have a nice Irish dinner here. For those of you that don't know, my wife is a culinary trained chef. And so it's always fun when she has an excuse to play around with food and try something different for whatever reason. And holidays and seasonalities always give her a fun reason to experiment. I'll be talking about some of that over on Scrapping Irish's channel when we come up there. So I look forward to seeing you all over on Scrapping Irish's channel as we carry on the discussion. The other great thing about going over to Ireland and Scrapping Irish is he brings up a panel and you never know who's going to be there. Plus, he has a more free-form, free-flowing live stream. So you never really know where the conversation is going to go. And when people like E-Waste Mike and Ian get going on how their week has been, it gets even triply more interesting. Just, yeah, it's always fun over there. So if you don't have autoplay enabled, though, I encourage you to go into YouTube. In the search bar, type in Scrapping Irish and join us over in Ireland. If we don't see you over there, have a great week. Be safe and think about your anger management. Have a good day, y'all.